That's impossible.
Let me tell you what I believe.
But your weakness is not your technique.
Yes! Yes!
Don't think you are. Know you are.
The Impossible Life Podcast.
I mean, you're sitting on a winning lottery ticket. An idea that is fully formed, fully understood, that sticks.
This is the Impossible Life Podcast because Nick and I are attempting to live impossible lives. What we know is that nothing is impossible. So instead of using impossible as an excuse to not try, we'll use the pursuit of impossible as an accelerant for greatness. If something's never been done before, that just means it's unexplored. If they tell you it's too hard, it's just waiting to be simplified. Impossible is a default label used by uncourageous people unwilling to take a risk. The real truth is this: the solution to any impossible task starts with this question. If I had to, what would it take?
Welcome to another episode of the Impossible Life Podcast. I'm your co-host, Nick Surface, and I'm looking across at a man who was recently found to have a genetic mutation that causes his face to burn with the fire of 1,000 suns at all times. That's right, friends, the former Navy SEAL, Garrett Unclebach, a man who has the riff in his genetic code.
If, your eyeballs can't cause material to burst into flames, maybe you just have weak genes.
Maybe you do. I guess I do because I've never burst something into fireballs. But I'll tell you what I did get. What's one of the fun things about doing this podcast, and I want to say this for anybody out there, this is kind of random, but if you're sitting there going, I don't know if I should do something, and you feel like God's giving you an idea and you're like, I'm not sure. Look, just start moving towards the thing, because it's always a lot easier for God to, what my pastor said when I was young was like, it's a lot easier to move a car you can turn a car that's already moving. And so the reason I'm saying that is because we often make it about one thing, and then we realize along the way that God had so much more planned. And so the reason I say that is because one of the great joys that's come from us doing this podcast was I thought, hey, I'm here to help people get some of what Garrett has and hopefully help other people grow the way I have. What's happened is we become very close friends. Our wives have become very close. Our families have become very close. And so we get the joys of fun things like group texts, where I'll be sat there at work and I just get this text from your wife on our group chat, and it's a picture of your little 6-month-old daughter literally doing the riff. Like, she inherited the genetic mutation that causes her to burn with the fire of 1,000 suns. So you got this cute little 6-month-old girl, and I'm like, I've seen that look. That's the look I see every time I look across this podcast.
I'm surprised you haven't changed Lindsay's phone and your name in your phone to Shin Kicker.
Which that's like that's like, I don't even know, man. That's just obvious. That's going to happen. I'll keep her name as is. But yeah, she's a Shin Kicker. She's my little sister, and she literally will take pot shots at me all the time. Anyways, a little bit of advice spinning off the podcast. Today, I wanted to really make, these are tools and tactics. I wanted to make vision simple for people, because I think so oftentimes people will make vision like, and then I saw, like they want to be Daniel, right? They want to like have a vision of like 4-winged beasts, and like, they all have different horns and they spring, like I'm reading through Daniel right now in case you can't tell. But like they want to have this huge vision where they
Daniel
see.
chapter 12 is a pretty crazy chapter in the Bible.
8 to 12 is gnarly.
Yeah.
It was even crazier than that. The end of Ezekiel, where he sees like this temple, and you're like, wait, when is this happening? It's wild. There's some wild stuff in the Bible. It's amazing. But people want that kind of vision. And for so many people, you just like, that's like me saying, hey, Garrett, I want you to teach me how to hit a 2,000-yard shot. You're like, I'll tell you what, why don't we set you up and get you to hit paper from 25? No, dude, 2,000. Let's start easy. The reason I say all this is because we're doing fear and pain and mindset mastery. I had some people talking to me about beloved episode 4, where I go in the ice bath. And so I thought, you know what? While I'm working, I'm going to go fire up episode 4 and just take a trip down the old time machine.
Oh.
Yeah, ooh is right, Garrett. It was man.
That was years ago.
4 years ago.
And I remember it. And this is not a shot at you. That
means it's a shot at me.
It's not a moment that you want everybody to see. And I appreciate and respect your humility and willingness to us put that on the show and then us talk about it.
Yeah, but you know what, man? And I really hope people capture this. I'm glad that's out there, because like I was saying to Garrett, so many people will transform. Like that's the power of the Holy Spirit, is that God's going to transform your life, not make you a better version of what you were, but completely transform you. It's just most of the time you can't go back and listen to yourself talk for an hour at a time and hear what was going on in your mind. And also, I put myself in that ice bath because I was like, this will be great content. And honestly, I was entertained.
It's also one of the great unlocks of transformation.
Yeah.
In that it allows you this supernatural disassociation to where you look at like who you used to be. Like there's Josh has some screenshots, literal and figurative, of me in my life of some moments that I'm not proud of. And I get part of transformation allows me to say that's the dead me.
Right. It's another dude. Yeah.
That's somebody else.
Yeah.
And it allows you to not like be ashamed of that, because it's like that's not me.
Right.
Like God has changed me.
Yeah.
And so if you're struggling with like old identity, I won't go down the identity road, but I just want to tell you that transformation allows you to move past these things. And the same way that Nick can look at some of these moments in his life and where other people might say like, that's kind of embarrassing, Nick can say, that's not me.
Yeah. I hope it gives other people belief. That's what this podcast has always been about, is to encourage other people that, like, you may look at Garrett and think I'm not a Navy SEAL, but like, guess what? Neither am I, but I'm growing a lot. And so I hope that you get encouraged by the combination of us and hopefully by a bunch of other people, But the reason I say that, so you're saying, wait a minute, you guys are talking about vision. Well, there was something that happened whenever I got in that ice bath, and my voice went, first of all, our mics and our equipment, we both sound like a couple octaves higher. There's so many things I take away from that. And maybe our voices really have dropped, but probably not. But I got in that ice bath, and I went from like, hey, yeah, all right, we're going to do this, to like, 9. And I remember, yeah, okay. I know what you're thinking. So Garrett has this saying, and this is oversimplifying vision. He says no girly noises. And you're like, wait, what? What he's saying is there's no girly noise. If you start struggling with something, don't be sitting there making all these noises. And I remember you had a word with me because I was in the ice bath. I came back multiple times, and I was in the ice bath for like the 4th time, still trying to figure out how to make it not hurt. That was before I realized that there are no secret pills. It's going to hurt no matter what. You just learn how to deal with it. And you said to me, you're like, hey, listen, like, you snapped me out of it because I was going 13, 12. And I was like trying to do the thing. And I think you were probably getting irritated with how weak I sounded. Mm-hmm. And you said, hey, I want you to imagine that there's somebody here that you want to actually impress. Like, imagine you're in high school and that the girl that you like is there. Would you be sitting there wanting to talk like that? And like, it snapped me out. And I was like,
because you have an ability.
Yeah.
Like, that's an example where for most men, there was something they really wanted, and they said, let me like manage myself. Right. And you have the ability to manage yourself. And when the weakness is coming out of you, you're not managing yourself.
Right. But the reason it was coming out of me is because I didn't have any thought. For me, I just wanted to get through it. Yeah. Like, at that point, I think my longest time was like a minute and a half.
It's a form of compromise.
Right.
Because you ask any man,
yes,
would you like to look strong? Of course.
Yeah. I want to look cool.
Until it hurts to look strong. And they say, well, I don't care about that anymore.
Right. Because they're like, what's the minimum effort required? Yeah. And so this is what I'm talking about. You may be going like, wait a minute, how is this vision oversimplified? Once I grasped what Garrett meant, I realized that I had the power to ask myself, not just how am I going to get through it, but like, how do I want to look? Who do I want to be when I'm in the situation? And so to this day, when I sit down in the water, if I sit down and my throat wants to do that, I will actively take hold of my voice and make sure that I'm speaking strongly and clearly and like a man, because I don't want to be anything other than that. And I've decided that for the ice bath. I've decided that with my kids. I've decided that with my wife. I've decided it in all sorts of different circumstances.
How many times do you have to get in the ice bath and look strong while you do it before the ice bath isn't hard for you anymore?
Right.
It is a act your way into a feeling.
100%. Yeah.
Right? When you climb in the ice bath, whether anyone's around, for most people who do it, it's probably by yourself.
Yeah.
When you get in there, like, imagine, like, how do I want to look right now? If I was gonna, don't do it to post it on social media, but if that's what you were going to do, how would you want it to look?
Right.
And how many times do you have to perform and behave that way, getting into the ice bath or whatever it is, the thing that, there's girly noises coming out of you while you're doing it, whether it's, from a physical activity or you just not managing your frustration or whatever in a way. How many times do you have to act your way into that feeling before you realize, like, oh no, I can just be this?
Yeah. And you know what? You're probably not going to have a Garrett with you at the time when this is happening. I hope that you have a brother in your life that calls out the best part of you.
We do have friends like Norm who take me with him everywhere he goes.
Oh man, Norm, who credits you with saving his life from 1,500 miles away. He doesn't understand. I have to like be around you all the time. I'm like, dude, you can't give this guy credit for this. This is ridiculous. But Norm heard your voice in his head as he
Nick
was
just
drowning.
shakes his head when people come up to me like, man, like you were just in my head and say,
I do because I've got.
hey, you know what? Some people just want some good software
You
to
know
take
what?
with them, and that's fine.
Yeah, this is me speaking as Garrett's friend who gets to hang out with them all. I hope you do have them in your head because truthfully, you know, I don't ever want to admit it to you, but
I just hope that eventually you replace me with you. in your
exactly.
head.
But
it's okay to start with me.
But you've been a blessing in my head at times as well. You know, there's been other times when you're not a blessing, but we'll save that for off air. But no, but you need to have that in your head. So like I said, you may not have a.
By the way, this is just a little thought.
Okay.
Shit, this is an old throwback here. Not a lot of people have probably seen this movie. There's a great movie called Sidekick with Chuck Norris.
Okay.
And the main character, basically like Chuck Norris, is in it like it's his hero. And my scene that you've heard me talk about before of holding onto the ladder,
Yeah.
it's from that.
Okay.
It's not even from a real Chuck Norris movie, but it's him in his mind seeing a Chuck Norris movie.
All right. Okay.
Okay. But anyways, the main character is this guy who's like on his own hero's journey, similar to like Karate Kid. He's the weak guy and he has to become like, you know, strong. And Chuck Norris is like his mental mentor.
Right. Yes.
The final scene of the movie, like Chuck Norris fades away.
Yeah.
Like,
I love that.
I don't need that anymore.
Yeah.
Now I have me.
Yeah.
But that's really what I would want. If I get to be somebody's Chuck Norris, what I hope is that you get to the point where, okay, now I can speak to me.
Yeah, but whether it's Garrett's voice or whether it's Chuck Norris or whether it's some sort of character, I hope you have a picture. What so is always blows me away is if you ask somebody like, hey, what do you want in this area or who do you want to be in this area? A lot of people can't really answer that because they haven't thought about it. And truthfully, that was the point I was making. You're not going to necessarily have a Garrett in your life, but you're listening to this podcast. So I want you to stop and say like, how do I want to look right now? That's the simple vision question. And then think about where you're going to be that day. Well, I know I'm going to be at work. I know I'm going to be at the gym. Do you want to be the guy at the gym who like can't help but look at all the girls that walk by? Or do you want to be the guy at the gym that's under complete self-control, that's there to be a beast and absolutely beat his body in the right way and get out of there and be disciplined and honor God with his body? When I go in the gym, I actively take hold of that picture. I'm like, I know exactly what I'm here to do. Whether I'm wearing a Christian t-shirt or not, I'm there to represent God, to honor him with the workout, and to push myself in a way that I don't get to do all the time because I can't always push myself to that physical exertion. So guess what I'm not doing? And if there's any distractions, man, I look the exact opposite way because I don't even want to give a hint that I could be a man of God that's even looking interested. And I've thought about these things beforehand. When I'm with my kids, like my 12-year-old, if she's having problems or my kids are having a tired day, I don't want to be the kind of man that's having his kids dictate the energy in the room, that's getting all mad and allowing a little kid to be the one who's leading how the conversation's going.
I would say to that man, no girly noises.
Exactly right. But this is what I mean. If you haven't thought about it, like I had no idea that I was doing that with my voice, and I had no idea that it could be possible to take hold of it, but I hadn't thought about what I wanted to look like. I just wanted to get through it.
Because if you watch that video of yourself like you do, like you're like, man, I'm glad I don't do that anymore. But
Yeah.
if you had watched that video right after which you did, you're like, it's kind of embarrassing.
Oh yeah, it
And
wasn't what
the
I thought
same-
at all.
And the same way for the way you are in your marriage, the way you are at work. There's a lot of these moments where, and yeah, this is one of the gifts my dad gave me. I've said it many times, but this is the lesson today. My dad said to me when I was like a 6-year-old boy making girly noises, he would say, I wish I had a camera so I could video you and you could see yourself right now.
Right.
And he was teaching me to see myself because, again, no girly noises in the ice bath. I say it at Mighty Men
Yeah.
when I hear it.
Yep.
And we're doing push-ups. We're on like 27 and I'm holding the down count. I hear, no girly noises.
Right.
Stop it.
Yep.
Hold that in. And in the same, like, these, man physical exertion examples of an ice bath and a push-up, the same thing in every other area of your life. And this goes for ladies too, right? Like no saying no girly noises isn't just for men. It's really for anybody. Like manage yourself and think about who you want to be and understand that there is just a level of self-control and you making a decision about who you want to be, you having a vision for who you want to be that's going to help you make that right corrective action. It's there when you have a mission focus of like, man, this is the person that I must become, that I must grow into for me to be able to accomplish this objective. It's the power of visualization where you're looking ahead, like truly, this will help. Like if you're going to get in the ice bath, imagine yourself not just doing the ice bath, but looking tough in the ice bath. And it will not get easy, but it will get easier.
Right.
The same way, this was one of my superpowers. Going through hell, before I went through Hell Week, I didn't imagine completing it and like being beat down. I imagined like triumphing all the way through Hell Week. And I promise you, I didn't look that way all the way through it. But if you look at if you look at the picture of my graduating class of Hell Week, and you look at me and you look at some of the other people's faces in there, you'll see the difference.
Right.
Right. Like I had imagined the moment, and I said, this is the way that I'm going to look the entire time through this. And I want people to take away from this. Nick and I were chatting about this, and we're blending kind of these two topics together today in this episode of no girly noises. But I also want you to have this thought, and I'm going to share kind of an anecdote here really quick that goes with it, of there's no superpowers.
Right.
Right. There's no difference genetically between me and any of the guys that I went through Hell Week with. And I was at Union this past week, having a late night conversation with some of the guys on the team. And there's another
Real quick, G, what's Union for those that don't know?
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Union is a business that I'm a part of. We launched at the beginning of the year. We engineer factories for the West, deterring adversaries forever. That is what Union is about. We are in a honestly very dangerous situation in this country. I had lunch a few months ago with Robert Gates, former Secretary of Defense, now former Secretary of War. New language there.
Very cool.
I was having lunch with him. We were talking specifically about the defense manufacturing in the 155, and he said, quote, "This is the most perilous time in our nation's history since World War II." I didn't mention this to you yet. Earlier this week, a TNT facility blew up in Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
It's at least 19 or 20 people dead.
That's awful.
Worst casualty in like manufacturing in like the last 50 years or something like that. Everyone's pretty sure it wasn't an accident. Okay. I am not a fear pusher,
right?
But there's a wake up call coming for this country for where we have let manufacturing get to. Union has just kind of been on the front of this. Like we brought some of the people together. The Avengers were preparing because they knew what was coming,
right?
And Union is very focused on developing manufacturing, specifically defense manufacturing for this country, so our adversaries do not get to a point in the next few years where they think they could invade this country. Because right now, this is not Union's data point, this is a U.S. government data point. If we went to war with China, the U.S. government runs out of things to fire at China in 10 days.
Jeez.
So anyways, having a conversation at Union with some of the team there, and there's a lot of world-class people there from different disciplines, different industries. And there's another guy there. He's actually doesn't work at Union, but he's Joe's partner at his fund. And Ross is another Navy SEAL. Ross.
Real quick, Jim, I'm going to interject for people that aren't going to wait. Who's Joe? Okay, so real quick. So Garrett,
Joe Musselman, episode 70.
Something like that. But real quick, so we'll talk more about what Garrett's doing. He's giving the very quick, like, this is why I'm telling the story version. Garrett's doing something right now that is like truly cutting edge, the kind of thing that you watch a movie or you read in a history book later on. And there's a lot of really cool lessons, and there's a lot of stuff that we will at some point talk more about. But just know that what he's doing is like every part of the best that God's put in him to bring all the different training kind of coming to this point in his life. Like it's a lot of things are lining up. And so we'll share a lot of things from that at some point. But Joe Musselman, who was on the podcast, is involved with it. And
I appreciate that. We'll come back to talking about Union another time. I want to keep it short and just share this anecdote and connect it to the no girly noises. So I'm having a late night conversation. Me, this guy, Ross, who's Joe's partner at the fund. Ross is another former Navy SEAL from the older generation. Ross is also the only Navy SEAL who's built a multi-billion-dollar business outside of defense. So Ross has a great success track record. A bunch of other guys around the table from Tesla. One of the guys on our team, director of manufacturing at the Fremont factory. He was a direct report to Elon. If you know the story of the Fremont factory, Tesla was months away from bankruptcy, and they were in a situation, we either produce cars faster or this company dies.
Right.
And like Russell was at the front of that charge. They doubled the size of the factory by expanding it into the parking lot. It's a really cool story. Not going to retell the story right now. Anyways, we're having a conversation about teams. Ross shares this video. We can drop a link to it maybe in YouTube of Steve Jobs talking about A players. And in the midst of all this conversation, one of the guys on the team was just, who's a little more junior, one of the guys on the team was just, kind of like asking some questions. And I said, really I was kind of summarizing his question and answering for the team. I said, here's the guys who have been at Tesla in that season, some of the guys who have been at the SEAL teams. Let me burst your bubble a little bit on how all these things work. The truth is that the SEAL teams at Tesla, it was just a bunch of guys who got really focused and said, we're going to make it happen. There was no, like I didn't have any superpowers in the SEAL teams. There was no endowment of these godlike abilities. There was just some people who decided, I will pay whatever price it takes. And when you put a bunch of when you select properly,
right,
and you put a bunch of those people together, and this is the Steve Jobs video, people can go watch it. He's talking about how A players, when they get together, they start, something different starts to happen when you do put the energy together to gather all these folks. So anyways, the thought and the point that I wanted to make was this connection between no girly noises, manage the way that you see yourself, and understand, like Nick, and that when you go back to episode 4, Nick thought Garrett had superpowers.
Yeah, I did.
Until now that Nick's been on the journey, he's like, oh, like that's both encouraging and discouraging.
Yeah.
A lot of people are waiting for the superpowers to be endowed upon them, and they never just take the next step of, why don't you just act like you had some?
Right. When does it stop hurting? It doesn't.
Yeah.
So why don't you just accept that and keep going? Oh, okay. But I hope you're encouraged by that, because like we said, this is really oversimplifying vision. And the oversimplified vision is, do you like the way you look right now? Do you like the way you look in your marriage? Do you like the way you look in your work as a father, as a man? Do you like as you look in your fitness? Because there's a few scriptures, and I hope that this encourages you and that something inside you wells up. If you don't realize that you are a reflection of God who is limitless and does not make average, this will seem like nonsense to you. But Psalms 139:14 says, I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. So I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Now listen to this. Your works, which we are his works, are wonderful. I know that full well. This is David realizing, wait a minute, I'm wonderful because you don't make average. You don't make small. You only make wonderful. All your works are wonderful. This I know full well. And from there, if you can understand, okay, God's made me to be something great, and you can capture a vision, James 1:23 and 24 says, anyone who listens to the word but does not do what it says is like someone who looks at his face in the mirror and after looking at himself goes away and immediately forgets what he looks like. These are the people who, this is you if you don't realize what God's put inside you and you don't realize that you're called to more. But it says, but whoever looks intently into the perfect law that gives freedom and continues in it, not forgetting what they have heard, but doing it, they will be blessed in what they do. And so our whole point is that we hope for you when you're listening to this podcast, that you're going, do I like the way I look right now? And I want you to get a vision that's greater than what you have right now, to see yourself, to see in the mind of God, in the presence of God, and to understand that he's called you to be more. And in every single place in your life, he's called you to be more, and that you would begin to get a vision to know, okay, this is what I want to be. And when you're in that situation, because you've thought of that vision, you will have the choice between being the man that you've decided that you want to be or going with the default feeling that you have in the moment. And I'm telling you, the more times that you choose to be the man that you want to be, you will start to tap into something that Garrett's talked about, where you realize there's no superpowers, but actually that choice is a superpower. And it's that freedom that you have at all times. And when you begin to step into those things, guess what? You look down the line, you start realizing, how many times, like Garrett said, did I have to act this way before it just became who I was? Well, you'll get down the road a few years and you'll be able to look back and have exactly what we talked about at this beginning of this episode, where you'll look back and you'll go, oh, that was another guy. That was the guy who still believed in superpowers before he figured it out.
Thank you very much for listening, guys. Remember to share, like, subscribe. If you think that this would be something that someone would enjoy, please send it to them. We appreciate it all. If you want to get in touch, you can follow us on Instagram at The Impossible Life. You'll find us on there. You can also email at impossiblelifepodcast@gmail.com. If you have any questions, if you want to get in touch and find out about Garrett's personal or business coaching, that's the way to do it. Thank you again for listening. Go out there, think better, and live the impossible. See you again soon.